Sometimes the most profound wisdom comes from the most unexpected places. If you've ever felt overlooked or underestimated, or if you're facing challenges that seem impossible to overcome, this story will resonate deeply with you. Before we begin, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more life-changing stories that remind us of the extraordinary potential in ordinary moments. Your support helps us continue sharing these powerful narratives. Marcus Reid stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, watching rain streak down the glass like the tears he couldn't allow himself to shed. 48 floors below, New York City continued its relentless pace, oblivious to the fact that Reid Innovations, the tech empire he had built from nothing, was 72 hours away from collapse. "Daddy, are you listening?" His 7-year-old daughter Lily's voice pulled him back from the abyss of his thoughts. She sat cross-legged on his office floor, surrounded by colored pencils and paper, her dark curls, so like her mother's, falling across her face as she concentrated. "Of course I am, sweetheart," Marcus lied, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Since his wife Diana's death 3 years ago, he'd made it a point to bring Lily to the office every Friday afternoon, a tradition he maintained even as his company began its downward spiral 6 months ago. "You weren't," Lily said with the brutal honesty only children possess. "You were doing your worried face again." Marcus kneeled beside his daughter, gently tucking a curl behind her ear. "I'm sorry, Lilybug. Daddy's just got a lot on his mind." What he couldn't tell her was that the revolutionary clean energy storage system that had been Reid Innovations' promise to investors had failed its final testing phase. The board meeting on Monday would almost certainly end with him being voted out of his own company. The vultures, led by his former friend and now chief rival, James Westfield, were already circling. A soft knock at the door interrupted their moment. Elena Diaz, the woman who had been keeping Marcus's household running for the past 2 years, stood in the doorway, her posture respectful but confident. "I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Reid, but it's getting late. Lily has her recital tomorrow morning, and she still needs to practice." Marcus checked his watch and sighed. "You're right, Elena. Thank you." He turned to Lily. "Pack up your things, sweetheart. Elena will take you home, and I'll be there for dinner, I promise." As Elena helped Lily gather her drawings, Marcus noticed something unusual on one of the papers. It wasn't one of Lily's typical colorful creations but appeared to be a series of technical sketches. "What's this?" he asked, picking up the paper. Elena glanced over, a flicker of embarrassment crossing her face. "Oh, those are mine, Mr. Reid. I was just doodling while waiting for Lily to finish her math problems earlier. I'm sorry, I should have taken them with me." Marcus stared at the sketches, his heart suddenly racing. They were crude but unmistakably showed a modified version of his company's failed energy storage system, with a critical difference in the configuration. "Elena," he said slowly, "where did you learn about energy storage systems?" She hesitated, then straightened her shoulders. "I have a master's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Mexico City, Mr. Reid. Before coming to the United States, I worked for a renewable energy startup in Mexico." Marcus was stunned into silence. For 2 years, this woman had cleaned his home, cared for his daughter, prepared their meals, and never once mentioned she was a highly educated engineer. "Why are you working as a housekeeper?" he finally managed to ask. Elena's expression was a complex mixture of pride and resignation. "My credentials aren't recognized here, and the immigration process is complicated. My sister was sick, and I needed steady work to send money home. Your position offered housing, good pay, and you were kind to me. It was the best option at the time." The next morning, instead of attending Lily's recital as promised, Marcus sat in his office with Elena and his top engineers, examining her sketches. Her insight was brilliantly simple, a reconfiguration of the cooling system that would prevent the energy loss that had plagued their prototypes. "The solution was there all along," his chief engineer admitted, "but we were too close to the problem to see it." By Sunday night, they had a working prototype. On Monday morning, instead of losing his company, Marcus presented the board with a breakthrough that would change the renewable energy landscape forever. 6 months later, Reid Innovations had tripled in value. Elena was now the company's director of engineering, heading up a diverse team recruited from unexpected backgrounds. Marcus had learned his lesson about overlooking talent and implemented a blind recruitment process that focused on aptitude rather than credentials. But the most important change was at home. Marcus now left the office at 5 p.m. sharp each day, no matter what crisis loomed. As he explained to his executives, the company almost failed not because I wasn't working hard enough, but because I wasn't looking in the right places for solutions. My daughter's homework time turned out to be the most valuable meeting on my calendar. On Elena's first day as director, Marcus had asked her why she'd never mentioned her qualifications before. "You never asked," she said simply. "People see what they expect to see. You saw a housekeeper, so that's all I was." That conversation had stayed with Marcus, changing not just how he ran his company but how he moved through the world. He began to truly see people: the security guard who had brilliant marketing insights, the cafeteria worker whose process efficiency suggestions saved millions, and most importantly, his daughter, whose observation that "Daddy's building blocks don't fit together right" had been the first clue that something was wrong with the original design. The night Reid Innovations went public, Marcus hosted a small dinner rather than the lavish party his PR team had suggested. Just him, Lily, Elena, and the core team that had saved the company. To seeing people for who they truly are, he toasted, his eyes meeting Elena's across the table. And to second chances, she added with a smile that carried the promise of more than just professional collaboration. As a creator who once found myself in a position where my own voice wasn't being heard because of preconceptions about my background, this story resonates deeply with me. There was a time when my ideas were dismissed until someone finally took the time to look beyond the surface. Remember, the wisdom that saves us often comes from where we least expect it. The question is, are we humble enough to listen? If this message spoke to you today, please like and subscribe for more stories that challenge us to see beyond our assumptions and recognize the extraordinary potential in every person we meet.